Let's go ahead and find a nice, comfortable place for meditation. We'll open up with a nice, brief meditation. Finding a place where you'll be comfortable for some time. Relaxing the body. Oftentimes we hold tension in the body we're not even aware of until we start scanning and relaxing the body from head to toe. Sending loving kindness, light, appreciation for this vehicle of consciousness that we're inhabiting, that we're healthy, present. As we feel into our body, we begin to feel that we naturally have a state of presence. We have a state of existence. We are here, we are present. We can very easily say, I am. And notice the way we can say I am, which is a state prior to identification with any particular state of being. There's the I am state of being, a point of neutrality, the state of existence, before we overlay it with belief and emotionality and thought. Behind all of that is natural presence, existence. And we can know that because we have this existence, we must, by definition, be a vital part of all that is. Because all that is does not make pointless creations. Thusly, our existence has purpose by definition. Because we feel our existence, we know we exist as a part of all that is. We are an integral part of all that is. We are participants in that grand symphony, and so our note, by definition, is integrally woven in the tapestry of existence. Thusly, we have value in the overall existence of all that is. And we can rest in that value, perceiving the value that we have. Good day to you. We welcome you to the realms of light, where the vast majority of who you are also has its existence. We welcome you to the realms of light, from where your physical life, your physical personalities, and your entire physical world also springs. Your physical world emerges and crystallizes within your consciousness. It is not the other way around. We know you have been led to believe that physical reality is a dimension you exist in. However, we are here to remind you that physical reality is a dimension that exists within you, within your consciousness. Physical reality is a kind of dream that the soul is having. And you will one day awaken from this dream, very similarly to the way you awaken from your nighttime dreams. And so you will wake up from the physical dream and remember that this is who you truly are, and that was just a dream. Yet within what you define as the confines of physical reality, everything appears to be very real, very tangible, crystallized into forms that you take for granted, that on other levels you are creating those forms. And that is the game that you have been playing with yourselves for thousands of years, this strong degree of forgetfulness that you are the reality, and that you create the reality that you believe yourself to exist within. Thus you are, as many teachers have said, the masters of limitation, for you have imposed a great degree of limitation upon the aspect of you that experiences the physical reality that you know. However, now is the time of the great awakening. The thousands of years of cycles of disconnection and forgetfulness are coming to a close, and you get to be here in this moment, this precious moment in time-space reality, whereby you divest yourselves of the amnesia that has been like the wool pulled over your eyes, so that your inner eyes can begin to perceive and inform your personality of the greater realities from which you spring. So you are here remembering. And it might seem paradoxical, for at times it will feel as if physical reality is becoming more dense and more thick with forgetfulness, but we assure you this is because you are brave enough and courageous enough to put all the negativity on the table before you, so that you can choose with more clarity what reality you prefer to create within the stream of physical existence that you're having. And while we know it may seem incredibly real and thick and dense, we assure you there are portions of you that truly know that you are here experiencing a reality that is a reflective mirror of who you truly are, and your existence spans many dimensions and is infinite in its creativity and ability, vast. And so you can, through the portal of the feeling of your existence, allow yourself to feel and to get a glimpse of that infinity that you are. In your quiet moments you can simply stretch out into your existence, stretch your feelings out into that state of existence, so that you can anchor yourself to the greater realities from which you spring, and recognize that you can find yourself in the eye of the storm and not be so tossed around by the outer rain bands where the winds are furious. You can always bring yourself to the eye of the storm where everything is calm and everything spins around you, and yet you maintain a state of deep presence. And dare we even say appreciation for all that transpires, be it positive or negative. And from that place of power you can choose, not being so tossed around willy-nilly by the winds of change and the winds of time. You can choose realities that you prefer. You can use the contrast that is before you as a springboard into higher states of consciousness. You have infinite power, for you are the dimension that you believe to exist in. This is your reality, these are your creations, therefore you are remembering that you are the creators of the reality that you to this time believe you exist within. Even all of the consensus realities, all the various constraints of physical reality are created by you on various levels of your consciousness. So we invite you thusly into that state of existence, into the eye of the storm where you will recognize who you truly are. We understand that many of you have great concern for all that is happening on the world stage, on the national stage. Yet from our vantage point we can see that you are magnificent beings of light, and you are learning to operate within particular parameters within this physical game that you yourselves have created at other levels of your consciousness. And so if you look upon your children and see the way they create various games and play within them, so too you are creating various games that you play within. And as real as they seem to you, they are set up for you to be able to reflectively see within what you call your externalized reality, the various beliefs that you hold to be true. You create these creative plays, these constructions, so that you can materialize in an externalized way portions of your consciousness that you can then see externalized and then begin to ponder what kind of a reality you prefer, and also what beliefs you hold within yourself to be true. So you can always use what is happening in a positive way by reflecting upon that great question that we have expanded upon before: what would I have to believe is true about myself in this particular situation to feel the way I do, think the way I do, act the way I do? Thusly use the reflective mirror in a way that you can begin to decode your negative beliefs by following your feeling states. For the realm is set up so that you constantly run into yourself, into reflections of yourself. Thusly begin to take ownership for the creations of your own dream-like reality that you call the physical realm, by asking yourself that question: what beliefs are being materialized before me? And pay close attention to your reactions to all that is happening. For the way that you react gives you a clue as to what belief system is being activated by that which you perceive to be outside of yourself. So allow yourself to see if you find yourself reacting negatively. Follow that negativity to the inside of your being. Get very, very curious about each state that you find yourself in, for you are choosing states consciously and unconsciously. Thusly, if you choose a reactive negative state to that which you're perceiving as your externalized reality, it offers you a wonderful clue, and you can dive into that, and it takes great courage to do so. And you can begin to unpack what is actually being triggered within you. As you awaken to your strength and your light, you will, by definition, let go of beliefs in powerlessness. And so if you feel that you are at the mercy of events that happen externally and are impinging upon your reality, then those are the beliefs that you want to investigate. are those the beliefs that you prefer to take with you? For those of you that are shifting to fourth density, the paradox being that while you're experiencing your reality to be more fluid and more dream-like, at the same time you are also recognizing that all beliefs relative to third density are being pushed to the surface, at times appearing to be done so fast and furiously, but we assure you that you are ready for this level and this rapidity of transformation. Otherwise you would not be in this particular time and place, reality. Now many of you are familiar with parallel realities. And while the intensity of what you're experiencing now may be great, we can tell you that there are versions of Earth, versions of these times that are being experienced in a much more dramatic way. For you have already divested yourselves of many, many limitations. Thusly, you need not experience the upheavals in quite the dramatic way that other versions of your civilization are experiencing, parallel to the reality that you're experiencing now. You could say that what you're experiencing now is the tip of the iceberg of what some of the other versions of Earth have experienced or are experiencing simultaneously to your own reality. Now we feel that there are many questions, so we will open up to questions at this time.
I have a question.
Very good.
It's kind of off topic though, but it's very Seth related.
Very good.
I've been reading a lot about mental enzymes, and I would like to know more about them from your perspective. It's a Seth term. I guess it's a common term. I'm not sure.
Well, we can give you our take on the situation, whether or not it folds into the same definition given in the material to which you refer. Remains to be seen. We will only go by the two words that you give us, mental and enzyme. So we would perceive it as beneficial belief matrices that would enable you to shift and change from one version of experience to another. Beneficial belief systems that would help propel you to decrystallize certain ways that you have arranged your physical lives and to recrystallize them in new ways. So we can describe it as a kind of shifting through parallel realities to realities that you are preferring to experience. Now we know we might not necessarily be giving you that which is referred to in the material. We're simply giving you a snapshot impression of those two words. The idea being that you always have within your consciousness the ability to adopt belief systems that help to unlock you from the frames of reference that you are habituated into using. And when you unlock yourself from that, you realize there is a moment of choice. And that process of unlocking allows you to loosen the seeming grip that reality has upon you, liquefying it, and thusly enabling you to fluidly shift from your perspective, or to have reality recrystallize itself in new patterns based on the new belief systems that you're adopting. Does that help, or is there a definition?
No, that does help. I would like some clarification though. When you say when you crystallize your reality, do you mean, let me find the words for it, the way we make our perceived reality thick and dense around us? It's like creating our reality in the ethers. Is that what crystallizing our reality is?
When you crystallize the reality, you are buying into a certain set of belief systems. And the realm is designed that each belief matrix will perpetuate itself. It is self-perpetuating. That is what creates the illusion of continuity experience within a certain reality. Now you always have within you the capacity to unlock yourselves from any particular belief matrix, thereby the reality goes from a crystallized state to a liquefied state. And then in that state you have the opportunity to choose other belief matrices, and once you run your energy through the new belief matrix, you take the old matrix out, you bring in the new matrix, you run your energy through it, and then reality now crystallizes through that belief matrix in a completely new pattern in accordance with the new belief matrix you have chosen for yourself. So you always have the capacity to unlock from any reality. And when you do so, you enter a state of neutrality. This is why it is so important to be able to have the ability to move into the feeling place of existence, into the eye of the storm. For in truth, you are moving into neutrality, constantly shifting on, off, blink, 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 blink. It is your perception of continuity that leaps from frame to frame, so to speak. Most of the time skipping over that neutral point. However, you can learn to access that neutral point from which you can unlock yourself from any particular reality stream and shift yourself to a new timeline, as it were, a new stream of parallel realities that are in alignment, in accordance with the new vibration that you have chosen, the new belief matrix that you're choosing to run your energy through. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, no, that was great. Thank you. Yeah, I also guess that this runs kind of the same type of thought stream that paradox, the positive and negative, and the neutral center point, same type of concept, I'm guessing, right? Is that correct?
In a way, the neutrality is the state that is unlocked from any particular reality. Therefore, many of you are experiencing a polarized reality. However, you always have the capacity to move into neutrality, whereby you can, and in that state you do unlock yourself from any particular framework. You're standing right in the center of your power, right in the eye of the storm when you're standing in neutrality. For in that moment you see the complete totality. Instead of seeing one way or the other, you actually see that these are the two sides of the same coin. And that helps you to unlock from any particular polarization. Does that help?
It does. Are there any type of exercises that we can do to get us more into that neutral point when we find ourselves have strayed away from it?
The exercise that we began this channeling with is a good exercise in general. However, you can always use your imagination, which is a lifeline, a conduit to the higher mind, because each of you is unique, and thusly each of you will have a different process that will work for you that might not work for the other. Thusly use your imagination with anything that helps you to calm down into a space of neutrality. But we will recommend the basic process that we began this channeling session with.
Well, I have a question. I don't know how to form it. I'm just, if I could add a little personal issue. I have a daughter who's bipolar, and she's experiencing right now very serious psychotic break from reality and the polarization. And it seems to be laid on top of what our country is experiencing, almost as if we as a country are going through a psychotic break. And I'm laying it out there. It seems to be relevant to the polarization we're talking about. Maybe you have some comments on that to help us?
Yes. First of all, a technical issue. Please remember to mute if you are not speaking, for there is much distortion coming through on this side. Thank you. Now, to address the idea of the societal psychotic shock that you're experiencing and any personal shocks that are being experienced. You can always label this in both positive and negative ways. You always have the capacity to use whatever happens in a positive way. And so being very aware of how things are labeled most of the time, because of this process that we have described, that once you buy into a certain belief matrix, the tendency is for self-perpetuation of that matrix until you unlock yourself from that particular frame of reference. The idea is, within any particular belief matrix that you're working within, you will have immediate and instant defining of your reality until you slow it down to the point where you realize that you are doing this. And so from the neutral point, you can see that as soon as you experience a reality, you will have a tendency to label it in either a positive or a negative way. Most of the time, this is very unconscious. However, you can slow things down and become more and more aware of the constant shifting through neutral that you do as you shift from frame to frame, from parallel reality to parallel reality. And so thusly always recognize you are making choices, and you can become aware of the way that you label things. Usually, you feel the resultant emotions of the definition you've applied to a situation without realizing that you yourself have defined the situation either positively or negatively. And this is where your power is in the power of choosing to define it in either positive or negative terms. That is up to you. For indeed, all situations in life are inherently neutral. And it is you who gives your life meaning. Now, you can fall into despair when you realize that life is meaningless, or you can move into exalted states of jubilation because you realize that you give your life meaning, and that means you have the ultimate power to define your life in any way that you choose. And this is a very powerful realization. Even the most abhorrent negativities, you will find that Within the collectivity of humanity, you'll always have individuals who somehow manage to label the most abhorrent conditions in positive ways and thusly use them in a way that is deeply profound, because so many of you are used to labeling things habitually in negative ways and therefore re-perpetuating the cycle of negativity that has been on your planet for thousands of years. However, now at the age of awakening, more and more of you are realizing you have this power to define all that happens, either positively or negatively. Thusly, one example for your recent current events, while it might be culturally acceptable to label it in a very negative way, you can label it in a positive way in the sense of realizing that this is an opportunity for you to truly get clear on what reality you want and use the contrast to make an absolute determination that you will shift yourself to the versions of Earth where all the beings are choosing to define things in that same or similar positive way, whereby you use the energy of what is happening to get very clear on what you're holding to be true inside yourself. There are many beliefs in your society now being brought to the surface about powerlessness, and also much fear of change, for you are accelerating change. You are moving into a pace of extremely rapid transformation by your reckoning. Thusly, there is much fear. By labeling the changes in negative ways, there are, for example, shifting definitions of what it means to be this gender or that gender, this race or that race. And for that to happen, much negativity must be brought to the surface to be re-examined. And you can see this in a very positive way, for you must bring the unconscious to the conscious mind's awareness so that you can work with it in a conscious way. If it remains unconscious, how will you ever transform it? It will not simply transform on its own, for you must take ownership of all the negativity that you have inside yourselves. Thus you can see this as a very positive development, for you are now taking what is unconscious and bringing it right front and center into your conscious mind's awareness, where it cannot be avoided. Thus you can deal with it, you can bring it into the light, and this is highly positive and integrative. Now you can rebel against it, you can close yourself off from it, you can compartmentalize yourself away from it, you can resist it. All of these are negative reactions. Or you can embrace it and integrate it. For if it is in your reality, it means it is there for a reason. It is your curriculum, as it were, so you might as well take the curriculum. And this is the positive approach. And those of you that choose the positive approach will find yourself rapidly transforming through the various negative beliefs that are being brought to the surface. Particularly in terms of identification with definitions of gender, definitions of race, definitions of what it means to be this nationality or that nationality. So welcome the intensity for. You can use the analogy that if you're flowing down a smoothly flowing river on a raft, versus going down the rapids, certainly it is more placid to flow down the very gently smooth flowing river. However, in the rapids, you get there much faster. And many of you signed up for the fast track. There are no accidents to why you're here at this time. You wanted to experience the character arc of rapid transformation. Now we assure you, and we will share with you, that your particular time-space reality coordinates are highly, highly unique and special in the universe. For a few times, it's very rare for a planet to choose such a high degree of negativity. And it is exceedingly rare to choose and have a lifetime. It is exceedingly precious to have a direct experience of the actual transformation of darkness to light. This is why your planet is the focus of many civilizations. Physical and non-physical consciousness peering into your world with great anticipation. For this time is so precious, so unique. Therefore, all eyes are truly on you at this time. And you can feel the multidimensional support not only of your higher minds, but of many, many beings, physical and non-physical, trans-dimensional beings, extraterrestrial beings, extra-dimensionals, with all their eyes on you, because this is a highly unique transformative process to transform this much negativity into light. Therefore, you can embrace this time with that preciousness and know that this type of character arc, the transformation, will feel so crystal clear and powerful because of the degree of difference between the state of forgetfulness that you found yourselves in and the state of remembrance. The degree of difference, the character arc of transformation from darkness to light, is so incredibly exhilarating. So know that you have created the most unique and precious moment within the all that is. So that is one positive way of looking at this time of transformation. So we'd like to ask if there are any other questions or clarifications. Don't forget to unmute when you speak.
I'd like to follow up, please, on what you said about extra-dimensional support and help and watching us. There are some that are saying that this battle, and also what you're saying about light coming into darkness. Some people are saying that we're in a battle of dark and light versus dark, and that perhaps there are outer forces, extra-dimensional beings that are not helping. What is your perspective on that?
First of all, we would say there is no battle. For the battle implies being caught in the polarity. Therefore, we prefer to see it as a great balance. We do not invalidate, therefore we do not battle. For we recognize the necessity of the darkness. It is a part of all that is, and we do not resist any portion of all that is. We allow the darkness to be, and that's what gives us the freedom to be in the light. We do not battle the darkness, we do not resist the darkness. And this is where your point of power can be. For as soon as you push away, as soon as you push against, as soon as you invalidate, you are adding energy to that which you believe you are pushing away, and in fact you're bringing it closer. And thusly, you begin to battle that which you say you don't prefer. However, when you recognize your power to choose the realities that you prefer, you also have the sense of compassion and understanding that all aspects of all that is are valid in the way that they are. So you do not need to change anything. You can simply rest in existence and know your value in existence, know your worth. It is only fragmented and compartmentalized consciousness, the negative side of the equation, if you will, that would create more of itself, more fragmentation, more negativity. And this is a valid experience within all that is. We simply would say, move into neutrality where you can choose the reality that you prefer without invalidating that reality that you do not prefer to experience. Hopefully that makes some sense.
Yes, thank you.
Very good. So, let us allow ourselves to take a few moments to rest in this energy, to come back to that place of existence, feeling our existence, feeling that we exist, and therefore by definition we are a valuable part of all that is. For all that is does not create pointless aspects of itself. We are aspects of all that is, therefore we have inherent value within the grand symphony of the all that is that we are. So we wish you a wonderful day. We wish you joyful planning of your conference for those that are engaged in that activity. Speaking of multidimensional and extra-dimensional beings, you will have the opportunity to co-create with many. So now we will leave you with the blessings that are ours to give and the blessings that you give to yourselves. We wish you indeed a fond good day. Well, alright. That was different.
Was it harder this time, Thomas?
It was. Did you perceive that?
Yeah, I knew before we started it would be.
Oh, okay.
Just the dust is kind of getting kicked up.
Yes.
You know, that's kind of how I'd see it. And so you have to kind of sift through that.
You know what's interesting?
But you did great.
Like the very first part of it seemed really strong, and then it seemed to like just hit this stuck point, like it was harder to get the connection, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was kind of surprised. So mostly the resistance I felt like third chakra area, like some part of me was resisting. I don't know. That's interesting. That's, I guess, for me to unpack.
That is interesting, since the focus was on personal power.
Yeah.
And
And I was loving all of that was coming up. Just interesting that's where you were feeling it.
Yeah, that's probably going to be my next wave of becoming aware of limitations and transformation. But yeah, it seems like there's always this wave. It's like I'll have this incredible peak, but then it'll be like it stretches and then stretches the personality, and then like more stuff begins to percolate up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You notice, I also noticed that the participants here, myself included, seem to have a wall too, because, I'm trying to think of questions, and I have this my friend who is channeling, and I have access, I can ask anything, and it's like, nobody's asking any questions. So
I'm surprised you didn't ask anything about the conference. Can save that for another time. Yes, right.
Exactly.
Well, I was just making a suggestion. Maybe we could all come with a question, so that because I know when we were asking questions, Vanessa is kind of going like this, like, yes, a question.
Yeah, I was trying to get it going. But like Jeff said, even to me, I'm like, come on, think it. I thought I had questions ready.
That's interesting, because like I think they were sensing a lot of questions, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they'll materialize as soon as we hang up, right? It's like, oh, I wish I asked.
I appreciate what Mitzi said. And the dust, I think that does feel like, I've been feeling it personally. There's like interference in the collective
Static,
atmosphere. Yeah. And there's a lot of it.
It's interesting.
But when you're cleaning house, that's what happens. It gets kicked up,
Yes, that's very good.
It's interesting you should say that, because I feel like this great energy is pushing against me, and it's like I'm having troubles maintaining my boundary bubble.
Yes, I totally get that, Jeff. Before you joined us, we were just kind of talking, and I was saying how I was feeling just like part of my spirit has not left, but has been like pushed down, more dense, more solid, where I would like to prefer to be more, in an ethereal type of feeling. And I really appreciate the talk today, because it gave a kind of a positive spin. It's so comforting to hear your voice, Thomas, when you are speaking to us. It's just, it kind of wraps around us, and you can just fall into it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
There was one point it got really clear when they were describing how highly unique our situation is, the transformation, how sought after that is, to have that experience of experiencing it from the inside out as we are, even though while we're here it seems tumultuous and challenging, and it's like we're in that movie, or we're in that we're in that adventure story that usually we're watching on our screens, but now we're in it, so it's like it's in that nitty gritty, but that's
we've always been in it. We just are now aware that we're in it.
Yeah.
And I think I've been trying really hard not to get sucked into the polarities of it, and to remain neutral. And that's really, it takes a lot of energy out. I found it really interesting that you brought up two phrases that I've heard quite a lot about for the last 3 years. And one is the Great Awakening, and the other is the light to dark, or the dark to light. I find that very interesting, the way things are being overlaid on each other. Quite interesting.
Yeah, and you had a mental enzyme question, and it just did not click into the way Seth described it, so I knew it was going to go in a different direction.
I don't know that it did, though. I think it's just different terminology.
Okay.
And Chris, when you were talking about getting, kind of being in a darker place, or like I can picture the heavy wet blanket on you, But I feel like part of that is because of your expansion. So
Yes.
you're going into these areas that you're not familiar with.
Yes.
And so it feels like that, but that's not actually what's happening. It just feels that way.
Correct. Yeah, I see that too. It's sort of like because you're expanding the light so much, it's bumping into the limitations that have always been there, but now you're just becoming extra conscious that they are there. So it's not that there's more limitation, it's you have more awareness of the limitations that have always been there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting.
And then when you were talking, Thomas, too, I could picture like being on the surgical table, you know, being in the operating room, and nobody wants to be cut on or anything like that. But in the end, it's going to make you stronger and better. You know, like it's just a necessary thing to go through to get to where you really want to be.
Yeah. And sometimes, like having a session like this where it's just like I hit my own roadblocks, you know, that's part of the process of actually becoming aware that they're there in the first place. And now I have something to work with. Oh yeah, yo joy, you know.
But you kept moving forward. You kept moving forward.
Yeah.
And that was the key. So good for you.
Thank you.
And you talk about having tea with your beliefs, or you know what? I always picture them like, oh, I hate this thing. All right, I'm going to have tea with this fear. All right, sit down, fear. Let's have some tea. You know.
Yeah, that's true.
I love when you talk about that.
Yeah, and I appreciate y'all's support as I go through that process of like, you know, sometimes being more clear, sometimes being less clear, because that really helps me bring this art out and to trust it, you know, to go through that transformation. Yeah, so thank you.
No, thank you. It's great. I love it.
All right. So anybody, any last thoughts before we close it out?
You know, I do. I really have a last thought about the conference.
Okay, yeah.
It seems like your higher self wants more information to be revealed about the conference, and maybe was prepared for questions, or he wouldn't have said that at the end. So I'll be sure to inquire more from now on. My mind is kind of a bit foggy today.
Yeah, I got this sense of like we're all busy on the physical realm, which is one circle, but there's all this extra dimensional energy that wants to, you know, create that meeting point in time and space. It's good. So it's going to be exciting. I mean, it's always that way in every event, but you know, particularly a consciousness conference. And I think there's a lot of process for how we get there is the beautiful aspect of it as much as the final result. So all the transformations we go through to get to the place of it's done is the process, is the conference. So it's already happening, in other words.
But we know that because we've been watching it.
Yes. And it's already done too. There's that paradox.
Done. It's calling us.
Yeah, right. So I just want to say also thanks, Brandy, for joining us. It's nice to have a fresh person in the group.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I'm still figuring it out. I felt like I was wanting to fill space with questions, but also wanting to just sit back and absorb.
Right. Yeah, and it's all good.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thanks everybody. I will see you this time in about 4 weeks.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye, everybody. Be well.
Bye-bye.